Watchword, Pride and Prejudice, Secret Files Revealed. Written and narrated by C. Taylor. Edited to meet YouTube guidelines. To read the unedited version, please click the link in the description. Chapter 3. By week's end, both Jane and Lizzie were safe within the palace walls of Jane's specialist. Once they shared Lizzie's plan, he agreed with every detail and dispatched the request to all needed participants. He also agreed with Lizzie that reinforcements were not needed. You have more than proven your abilities to accomplish your directive. I understand the last campaign did not go as smoothly as the previous ones, and I honored Mr. Bennet's request, but this seems to be time-sensitive, and the reinforcements have shown you complete disrespect. You have my full support. I will send a report to Mr. Bennet that both you and Jane are relaxing at the palace. Jane's specialist nodded his agreement to Lizzie. I thank you, Your Grace. Pray you would excuse me, I need to prepare. Another nod, Lizzie curtsied deeply and set out on her plan. Ensconced in a private barouche, the ladies discreetly arrived at the rooms and were greeted by Madame Claude. Dear Lizzie, it has been far too long. Her beloved mother's good friend embraced Lizzie, whom she had known from her infancy. The French words spoken by the Rubenesque woman brought back warm memories of her childhood. I regret I do not have time to spend in conversation this visit. If all goes to plan, I will in the very near future. The wise elder woman gazed affectionately at her. Of course, mon chéri, I have prepared all you requested. Come, we must ready you as he will arrive soon. The dress was secured, rouge set to her cheeks, hair let unseemingly down her back. The preparations familiar to her time with her mother in the great theatres of France, tonight would be nothing more than a performance like so many she had enjoyed before her magic world had shattered. Jane set out in maid's wear, staying to the kitchens until Lizzie secured him. Lizzie moved into the main salon. All eyes moved to her. Her words, both in perfect French or with a strong accent when she spoke English, inspired gentlemen to wish for her attention. She was sure to be the most desired in the room when the gentleman she sought entered. Being a man of high rank and even higher vanity, he would be with no other than the new girl from France. Once safely enclosed in the private room Madame Claude had arranged, Lizzie offered the man a strong drink as he quickly began the process of dispatching his clothes. With him thus distracted, Lizzie ensured the powder kept in her large signet ring was added to his drink before providing it to the surprisingly agile older man. A quick blink of the glasses and he finished it with one toss. Perfect. Lizzie endured a few persuasive grabs before he became weakened and drowsy from the powder. Not long after, he was snoring and peaceful. Lizzie was unable to extract herself from the now resting man's grasp before the door to her chamber opened again. Movement from behind her alerted that someone had entered. She could not see who. She moved her hand to the blade held at her thigh before she spoke. I do not know what you have heard of me, monsieur, but I only entertain one gentleman at a time. She would only warn once. My apologies, ma'am. I do not mean any disrespect. I have business with this gentleman that cannot wait. The voice behind her was familiar, though she could not place it. Regardless, he would need to give way or find himself dispatched. She would give him one last opportunity. It will need to wait, as he has quite exhausted himself, as you see. Then it would appear your business with him is finished, and I will not be an interruption. The man refused any reason. Lizzie's temper flared, as did her hand on her blade. A leap and a swipe were deflected, then countered by him, his face covered with a black sash, his movements fluid and skilled. She blocked all his strikes, but also could not land any of her own. Evenly matched, she could not give way, her target too valuable, her mission too important. The concealed door beside the bed opened. Lizzie, stop! The order from Jane distracted her. Head turned to confirm her presence, and the man grabbed her at the waist, thrusting her onto the bed and pinning her there. Darcy, stand down. A second order from the concealment. Lizzie's mind disoriented, struggled to remember why the two men's voices and the name Darcy was so familiar. The man on top of her stilled. Lizzie glanced at Jane. Mr. Bingley stood next to her, his previously cheery disposition replaced by a sternness that made his features fierce. Had he said Darcy? The slight dizziness she experienced upon gazing him from the assembly rooms returned. She turned to the man still holding her down. The warm eyes. How did she not recognize? If you two have quite finished, I believe we need to transport this man to the port for passage to France. It was Mr. Bingley again, his manner so altered from her first meeting with him that she was quite astonished. She was usually so skilled at detecting deception, he had not given her any reason to be concerned other than his attention to Jane. At his words, Mr. Darcy relented his hold on her, and quickly pulled the now unconscious gentleman's arm around his neck, lifted him onto his shoulders, and moved with him to the concealed door. I am the one that procured him. We have arranged passage to France. Lizzie protested the apparent disregard for her careful planning. She moved from the bed and followed the receding bandits. Jane clasped her arm as they followed Mr. Bingley and Mr. Darcy secretly through the kitchens to the barouche. They know of your plan and agree with them. My specialist sent them. They are, as it would so happen, our reinforcements. Mr. Bingley and Mr. Darcy? Comprehension could not be reached by the end of the stairs. Jane pulled Lizzie closer as they passed through the kitchen. Mr. Bingley agrees with your plan. They will take him over to France. Mr. Darcy will confirm him a traitor whose word is sufficient for the king to convict. This was not good news. They will take him? Per our father, Mr. Bennet, we are to return to the palace. Jane advised of the new orders. That will not do. No one heeded her objection. Mr. Darcy hefted the man unceremoniously into his second barouche. Mr. Bingley led the girls to the first one that conveyed them to the brothel. Stay at the palace until we return. Do not venture to Hertfordshire. We will escort you once this is done. This Mr. Bingley's brutish nature ignited Lizzie's temper, though she did not let it show. She allowed him to guide her into the carriage, ensured Jane's comfort, and waited until they had travelled a distance before turning to Jane. Stay at the palace until I return. Lizzie then opened the door and rolled to the cobblestones before running back to the brothel, barely able to hear Jane's admonition. Lizzie, don't you dare! Madame Claude had Lizzie's next set of clothes ready and sent for the horse she would require for the altered plan. She quickly washed the rouge from her face, tied her hair tight to the back of her head, donned the breeches and hat. She would now seem a letters carrier, and if all went well, would arrive at the boat well before the other party. The late hour allowed some delays as highwaymen attempted to free her of her needed satchel. With only mild condolences for the price they paid for their efforts with their breath, she continued her journey, quickening her pace to make up for the delay. A sharp turn to the left, with trees blocking her view, noise of some volume from the other side. She slowed her horse a moment before nearly colliding with Mr. Bingley and Mr. Darcy's carriage, another band of highwaymen blocking their advancement. In that same instant, Mr. Bingley raised his pistol at her, clearly mistaking her as a danger. The shot cracked. Lizzie, already sliding off her horse, rolled into the bush. The chaos that centered at the carriage continued. Lizzie could see scoundrels moving toward their target. Mr. Bingley and Mr. Darcy already engaged with several men. Lizzie could surely assist with some of them without reprimand. After dispatching 3 silently without them alerting to her location, Mr. Darcy had finished with his last, and Mr. Bingley was removing the few that were so inconsiderate as to fall in front of the barouche. The sound of another carriage grew louder. Lizzie stayed in place. Mr. Bingley and Mr. Darcy took shelter behind the wheels, and all awaited what new threat approached. It was Jane's barouche. Lizzie nearly voiced several French words her mother implored she never used. Jane leapt out before it came to a complete stop. Mr. Bingley, where is Lizzie? Her voice was frantic. Lizzie desired to go to her, but was unsure if Mr. Bingley would try to shoot her again, since she did not appear herself. What are you asking? Is she not with you? His voice now sounded discontent. She is very insistent upon accomplishing every mission, and slipped away as we were moving. Madame Claude informed me she had adapted to a letters carrier before leaving on a horse. She heard Mr. Bingley say a word that would have most certainly made her mother angry. Miss Elizabeth Bennet, if you are not injured, approach us now. Lizzie was again astonished by Mr. Bingley's altered nature. She most cautiously made her way to the road. It was then the rest of the party witnessed the 3 men she had removed from the battle. Miss Bennet, what possessed you to disobey my direct order and put Jane at so much peril? Mr. Bingley, the man with so much good humour only a few days earlier, was being most severe. I have no need to obey direct orders from someone who is nothing to me. At her words, she noted Mr. Darcy flinch. Why would someone so far above the station of his company flinch at him being directly discounted? Mr. Bingley moved toward her in a most disagreeable manner. You do not know who I am. I will allow your insolence this one time. Jane, will you please explain the reality of her situation? This evening was becoming quite vexing. Her own good humour was being taxed, and all she wished was to complete the mission and begin looking for the final fiend that still meant Jane harm. Jane approached. My dear Lizzie, do you remember the details of the horrors of the French Revolution? Lizzie's blood chilled. Jane knew her own history was also devastated by the events of that time. Jane, do not insult me so. The history of the royal family, what happened to them? Her gentle words still caused Lizzie great distress. Do not cause me to repeat it. You are well aware the horrors of that time still haunt my dreams. Lizzie's temper caused her words to be most uncomfortable to hear, even to her own ears. Only one daughter, Marie Therese Charlotte, survived. All others were most cruelly dispatched. How is that event relevant to our situation? Jane took her hand, a soothing balm to her current agitation. She was not the only one to survive. She gazed on her, waiting a moment for Lizzie's contemplation. The Dauphin, Louis Charles, was liberated and brought to England. That cannot be. He died unscrupulous only a few years into his imprisonment. Jane shook her head. No, they feared the dangers to the revolution if any report of his liberation were to be circulated. The news of his death was meant to discount any report to the contrary. Mr. Darcy then approached, his warm eyes causing a fluttering she did not understand. His words were calm as he explained. He was kept in hiding. The report was allowed without dispute due to the concerns for his safety. There are those who still watch for him and would wish him dead. As a French citizen and one who had kind feelings toward the royal family, we are placing you in our confidence. Lizzie contemplated further and turned to Jane. How can you ensure this is true? My specialist confirmed, provided sufficient proof that I am certain the report is true. With some reserved belief, her contemplation brought her to honor the information. She, however, would more closely monitor the new neighbors at Netherfield Park for much longer than anticipated. She turned to Mr. Bingley. I humbly plead for your forgiveness, your Majesty. As the custom, she curtsied deeply for the unrecognized sovereign of her home country. With head kept bowed, she noted that his countenance softened as he gazed on her. As I mentioned, I will forgive this offense, but I will extend mercy this one time only. Any further show of disrespect or disobedience will be most severely dealt with. Am I understood? Lizzie nodded and held her gaze down, her mind already contemplating how to get to France should Mr. Bingley forbid her again and send her back to the palace. Now, you will return with Miss Bennet to the palace. As she suspected, her mind already establishing a countercourse. Dear Mr. Bingley, may I have a word with you in private? Jane asked softly while laying a gentle hand on his arm. Lizzie ventured to raise her gaze enough to see Mr. Bingley's response. Lips stiffened, forehead creased. One quick nod, and they both moved to a quiet spot where trees offered a degree of privacy. Lizzie also noted that Mr. Darcy moved to the place in the woods Lizzie had been. Now that the perceived French sovereign was a sufficient distance, she ventured to watch Mr. Darcy. He knelt to examine the three fallen men, examined their wounds, ensured they would no longer be a threat. After, he moved to a disrespectful closeness to Lizzie. She did not give ground, would not allow his clear intimidation, no matter that it intensified the flutterings his eyes gazing on her inspired. I did not hear a single one fall, he observed. I know. Until I dispatched the last one, I could not risk the others hearing. The last one I could not risk you hearing me, since Mr. Bingley had at the time already tried to shoot me. His lips twitched. The ghost of a smile was there. Lizzie's flutterings intensified into a pounding that further confounded her. Still, she did not concede ground. You are dressed as a man, he observed. When traveling alone, it is far safer, she confided. But it is still extremely unsafe, he countered. It helps that I do not look like I can defend myself. It is far easier to effectively strike when the opponent does not expect resistance, much less an attack. Mr. Darcy's eyes seemed to dance, as you demonstrated to me at the assembly. Lizzie recalled the exchange after his unflattering conversation with Mr. Bingley about her. Her eyes raised innocently. Alas, it did not have the ill effect I had intended. She lied, remembering the slight flush she had observed. His head tilted when she had finished. Now we both know you are lying. His eyes grew dark. Her body seemed to throb. He moved toward her. The girls will be joining us for the rest of the mission. Mr. Darcy, please return to the box. This interruption has cost us time we cannot afford. Mr. Bingley marched forcefully from the woods, hand carefully guiding Jane, who glanced at Lizzie, smiled, and gave a quick nod. It was only then Lizzie recognized Mr. Darcy was dressed as a simple carriage driver. Lizzie, you will join us in the carriage. With all due respect, your Majesty, I would be of better assistance if I am allowed to ride my horse ahead of the carriage. If there are any additional highwaymen along our journey, they will attack me first, alerting you and allowing their party to be more quickly dispatched. Lizzie noted Jane's deep breath and resigned smile at her words. Miss Elizabeth Bennet, may I remind you that your horse ran away during the chaos. Mr. Bingley was not accustomed to being challenged. Chauncey, here, girl. It is safe. Please come, Lizzie called. Soon the sound of hooves crunching leaves grew louder. The fine steed returned to the road. That's a clever girl. Are you all right? She asked. The horse affectionately lowered her head to rub her shoulder. Lizzie scratched under her bridle. Mr. Bingley made a sound Lizzie could only describe as a growl. Fine, Mr. Darcy, keep an eye on her. We need to move. Mr. Bingley sent the second carriage away and assisted Jane into the remaining carriage. Lizzie mounted her horse and urged it into a quick but steady pace. She knew the time, knew Mr. Bingley was correct in that timing had been delayed. It would be imperative for them to move as fast as possible during the remainder of the journey to the boat.